White flag raised and led off. The second race is the Cozy Roof handicap hurdle, over 2.5. They've 10 flights of hurdles to jump. It's Lighthouse Rose, followed by the top weight Favori Logique, and then Centurion Steel and Shantou Sisu on the inside, followed by Glenabo Bridge. Improving out wide is Urbanist. Heading downhill to the first of 10, and it's Lighthouse Rose in front of Favori Logique, and then Urbanist and Centurion Steel, Shantou Sisu and Glenabo Bridge, and She's Some Doll. And on the inside is Forget the Surprise with Celtic Dancer. Cabin Hill is next, bit of a break to Walking in Memphis and Haggard Lad, and Canadian Steel out the back. Going to flight number 2, Lighthouse Rose is cutting out the running. Leads by a length and a half to Urbanist. In third is Centurion Steel, and then Favori Logique. No, back to fourth. Shantou Sisu, Forget the Surprise. Cabin Hill, Glenabo Bridge, and She's Some Doll as Celtic Dancer gets a crack from Conor McNamara, having been shuffled back to rear division. Going up the back straight to flight number 3, and Urbanist has headed Lighthouse Rose. In third is Centurion Steel, and then Favori Logique and Shantou Sisu, Forget the Surprise, Cabin Hill and Glenabo Bridge, and they're followed by Walking in Memphis and She's Some Doll and Celtic Dancer. Haggard Lad is one behind Canadian Steel. Away they go from flight number 3. Urbanist, Sean Flanagan, opening up a 2 lead over Centurion Steel and Mike O'Connor. In third is Lighthouse Rose and Kevin Broder, who have lost another place. And then Shantou Sisu and Danny Mullins, winners together last time out. And then Favori Logique as they approach the fourth flight at the highest point of the track. Forget the Surprise. Slight mistake, 3/4 of the way back. Coming downhill to flight number 5, and the final flight next time. In the lead is Urbanist, followed by Centurion Steel. Shantou Sisu is taking closer order, and then Lighthouse Rose and Glenabo Bridge, Favori Logique, Celtic Dancer on the outside of Cabin Hill, then Walking in Memphis and She's Some Doll, Forget the Surprise, Haggard Lad, Canadian Steel. Coming back to their point of departure, heading out on their final circuit with 5 flights left to jump. The extended 2.5 Cozy Roof handicap. In the lead is Urbanist, 2.5 lengths up on Centurion Steel, a couple of lengths to the third running Shantou Sisu, and fourth is Lighthouse Rose, then Glenabo Bridge, Favori Logique, Celtic Dancer, Cabin Hill, Walking in Memphis, She's Some Doll, and Forget the Surprise racing together. Haggard Lad and Canadian Steel bring us up the rear and a little detached. Away they go from that 6th flight, which was 5 from the finish, heading to their final mile. Urbanist upholding a couple of lengths advantage over Centurion Steel. Shantou Sisu is third, and Lighthouse Rose is fourth, and fifth is Glenabo Bridge, and sixth is Favori Logique, then Celtic Dancer, Cabin Hill, Walking in Memphis, and then She's Some Doll and Forget the Surprise, Haggard Lad and Canadian Steel. For the jump, continues to be Urbanist in front of Centurion Steel, who's tracking closely, then Shantou Sisu and Lighthouse Rose as they meet rising ground to the third last flight. Glenabo Bridge is on the outside of Favori Logique, and then Walking in Memphis. Leaders are beginning to bunch up, heading to 3 flights from the finish. It's Urbanist, followed by Centurion Steel, Shantou Sisu, right on their heels in third. Running the rail is Lighthouse Rose, then Glenabo Bridge, and Favori Logique as they approach the third last flight. Urbanist, Centurion Steel, Shantou Sisu, Lighthouse Rose, Favori Logique. Pushed along the outside is Glenabo Bridge. Improving is She's Some Doll, and then Walking in Memphis and Cabin Hill, and driven is Celtic Dancer, then Haggard Lad, Forget the Surprise, and Canadian Steel. 4 furlongs to go, 2 flights left to jump, and it's Urbanist gathered in by Centurion Steel and Shantou Sisu, just a length off them in third, then Lighthouse Lighthouse Rose and Favori Logique. She's Some Doll next as they pass the 3. On the inside is Cabin Hill and then Glenabo Bridge. They're coming down to the final flight. And it's Urbanist rejoined by Centurion Steel, making good ground in the blue and green colours. Is Favori Logique. On the outside is Chanteuse Sisu. Spread across the final flight. Centurion Steel, Favori Logique, Chanteuse Sisu. Cabin Hill runs on as Urbanist falls away, and then Lighthouse Rose and She's Some Doll into the straight. And it is Centurion Steel and Mike O'Connor from Favori Logique and Conor Orr on the outside, but Centurion Steel has it as they run up to the finish. It's Centurion Steel driven out to win by a couple of lengths from Favori Logique, Lighthouse Rose, She's Some Doll.
Yes, it is win here for Centurion Steel, who has struck under Mike O'Connor, and I tell you what, Downpatrick is rapidly turning into a very happy hunting ground for this young man. That was his 6th ride at the track, and 3 of them have won.